Healthy children form positive connections with caring adults, and healthy adults are connected with other humans. Can we similarly form connections with nature? It turns out that we often develop a connection to nature when we are young. Such connections are developed through spending time in nature, usually with a nurturing adult. In this lecture, Marian Krasny, Yue Li, and I tell our stories of how we have connected to nature at different times of our lives in very different environments, from mountainous areas in the US to large and small cities in China to the vast expanses of Russia.
So when I was a child, my parents would take me and my brothers hiking, and we would hike along the Billy Goat Trail, which goes right along the Potomac River, just above Washington, D.C. And our family, including my grandfather, we would hike and canoe during what was called summer camp, which was sponsored by the Appalachian Mountain Club. And there was an older lady at summer camp. I remember her name was Marie Lewis, and she was in her 90s, and she would teach me the names of wildflowers. But all these experiences were pretty much in the northeast part of the U.S., where the mountains aren't as dramatic. But then when I was 15, I was able to travel to Austria, and I lived with a family there. I called them my adopted family. And they took us for a week-long hiking trip where we hiked from hut to hut in the Alps. And it was there that I really developed a strong appreciation for nature. And I also just think that all these adults that shared their love of nature with me when I was a child were so important in me developing a nature connection. So after I graduated from college, my parents gave me a present where I was able to go on this month-long mountaineering expedition in the Glacier Peak Wilderness area of Washington State. And then for the next 3 summers, I led similar expeditions for the National Outdoor Leadership School. And we would scale glaciers, we would cross rain-fed torrents on these little tiny logs, and we would be able to just wander through just gorgeous alpine meadows. And my connection to nature really became much more profound. Then I moved to Ithaca, New York. And though many appreciate the gorges, the forests, and the hilly agricultural landscape, I was not so entranced with this more cultivated nature of rural New York State. And yet, over the years, I've become increasingly connected to this local nature. First, through hiking and canoeing with my own family, hopefully instilling a feeling of nature connectedness in my own children. And as I've grown older, my connection has become more individual. Emerging through my early morning walks and weekend runs, listening to the sound of waterfalls, feeling the calm of a dark woods, and dodging the occasional skunk, rooting for worms after a rainfall.
Growing up in a remote mountain area in southwestern China, I could touch the natural world freely during early childhood. Often, my parents took me to walk along a creek behind our house after dinners. We also went hiking, finding mushrooms, and picnicking with neighbors in the woods nearby on weekends. To me, connecting to nature means spending time with family and childhood friends in natural areas. When I went to Beijing for college, I realized how hard it is to get to natural areas. I joined an outdoor education club in order to go hiking and camping outside of Beijing on weekends. During these hikes, we picked up trash along the hiking trails and reminded other visitors not to leave trash in the natural area. I learned about the leave no trace concept and developed a deep appreciation for nature. Connecting to nature is so precious and means a sense of environmental responsibility. I rediscovered my connection with nature when I moved to Ithaca, New York. It becomes my daily life routine when I walk by a lake and woods to my office every day. I run around the lake for exercise and relaxing. I also tried kayaking, skiing, and ice fishing for fun. Connecting to nature is a great pleasure. I cherish it more than ever.
I grew up in Russia. As a child, I often traveled with my family in Siberian forests in the north and in the Black Sea region in the south. Because Russia is sparsely inhabited, my impression was that our whole planet is mostly wild nature, forests, grasslands, seas, and mountains, with rare exceptions of human habitats. In my early life, nature was everywhere, and I took nature for granted. In my grandparents' village in Siberia, my family and I would often collect wild berries and mushrooms, observe how people dependent on Siberian forest and rivers grow vegetables on our land, see my grandmother milk cows, swim in pristine lakes, enjoy playing outdoors all day long, and sometimes be annoyed by mosquitoes. And in the south, where sunshine and fresh fruit are abundant, I could not have enough of swimming in the sea and playing with other children in our cherry orchard. Interestingly, it is through my subsequent experiences of cities in Russia and the US that I have realized that I'm connected to nature. Upon moving to New York City, I grew to understand that in many parts of the world, wild nature is an exception and developed areas are everywhere. I think I would like to have the best of both worlds. I enjoy going to national parks and being unplugged from my cell phone. And I enjoy being in large cities and experiencing diverse cultures. And I also would like to see more nature integrated in cities and be connected to nature right where I live. So, why do we care about nature connectedness? Regardless of whether your nature connection is developed in the US, China, Russia, or anywhere else on the planet, it makes you more likely to want to protect nature. This can happen through wanting to protect nature that has become part of our identity and through wanting to protect nature because we feel happy and healthy when we spend time in nature. In short, nature connectedness is an important predictor of environmental behaviors. Because people who are connected to nature are more likely to engage in environmental behaviors, activities that foster nature connectedness should be included in programs that attempt to foster environmental behaviors. Rather than cram in a lot of instruction, allow participants to spend unstructured time simply exploring nature. And, whenever possible, incorporate caring adults who nurture youth in their nature activities.